Can
Thanks so much.
can you hear me or? Shit, I
Wait,
don't.
hold on. I think I'm hearing you through the
Yeah.
stream only.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. You are. Yep. Yeah, it's fucked. Hold on. Sorry, dude. 1 second.
All right.
Okay. Input device. Hello, hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's very Wait, hold on.
Here, I can move my mic a little bit closer so it's not so bad. How about that? Is that a bit better?
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So sorry, man. How you doing? How's your day going?
pretty good. Just got on the coaching lesson.
Yeah, yeah. So what I do with everybody is, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind telling me your race, your kind of like your current skill level, and in general, like just a general idea of what you want to work on?
All right, so I play a lot of Zerg, and I'm Silver 2.
Yeah.
Um, and what I really want to work on is like I've been trying to macro a lot, and like I've been following like the bronze to GM stuff,
Sure.
but I just don't really know how to react to when people like aggress like early, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been trying to like make spines and stuff, but they just like
It makes sense.
ram through them and stuff. I don't know.
A big part of it, a big part of it will honestly be just not allowing anything to disrupt your momentum. So if you're basically you're constantly just pumping out everything that you need to be doing, and then you're getting all in by something weird and cheesy, a lot of times you'll still just be fine if you as long as you can just keep pumping stuff out. So we'll definitely look
All
at
right.
your we'll definitely look at your like your build order, how it's going, how things are kind of operating. We'll look at your I'll help you make give you some ideas on how to make decisions when something is happening that's weird. But
All right.
yeah, man. I guess are you already on BattleNet right now?
Yeah, I'm in the game right now.
Okay. So jump out of the game and then go back to like the lobby or the main menu of StarCraft, and then I'll have you invite me to a party and then we can watch it together.
All right. One sec.
Yo, Sto, thank you very much for the sub, dude. Welcome to the V fam, bro. Thank you.
Also, would I be able to ask like a couple of questions, like just random ones, kind of? I like made like a little list.
Yeah, dude, you can ask whatever you want. It's all good.
All right. So one of my first questions is like, I was just wondering like, how far can a player get without like having a ridiculous APM, like
Uh,
and like knowing all the hotkeys and stuff?
if you play efficient, you can have sub 200 APM and BGM because there's been people who've done that before. There's like a couple of names like people. It's not even just like GM. There was a couple pro gamers that had like notoriously very low APM, and one of them is like a Terran player from Europe named Goody, and another one is was a Protoss player from America named Axlav. Like they both had like Goody had like fucking 90 APM or like 110. Like it was like impressive to break 100, and then Axlav had like 130. Like yeah, you don't like if you make really smart choices and you're very efficient, you can play slow and you can still make it work. But to be fair, none of them were Zerg, and I will say you do need a little bit more APM with Zerg. I would say a very slow Zerg APM, but you could still go high. Would be maybe like 175, 180, because you have to creep
All
spread
right.
like that. That the only reason is because you have to creep
Yeah.
spread, and that's more actions.
All right. Could I ask you for your like bat email or battle tag that I should add? Is there
Uh,
like a specific
so
one?
just do this. Just do this. Click on your
All right.
avatar in top right, do like a little portrait,
Yep.
and then go to ladders on the left side with your profile, and
Yep.
then hit Grandmaster, and scroll to rank. What the fuck am I? What the hell am I? 73.
73. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. And then add friend.
So, right click my name and just send me a message.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. There you go. And now I will make you party leader. And then all you got to do now is go to your replays, and then just when you find the replay you want to go into, just hit watch with others.
All right. Let me just find the right one real quick.
Someone in chat just asked, what could you get to if you had only 50 APM? Probably platinum, honestly. I would say maybe like gold, maybe high gold, but probably plat. You could probably make it to plat with 50.
Alright, I think I found one. So I just click watch with others.
Yeah, and then before you start it, right-click my name now in the lobby, and then make me the lobby host.
Alright.
There you go. Perfect. And then, yo, feel free to interrupt me at any point in time. Even if I'm mid-sentence, it's totally fine. If you want to ask a question, by all means, do whatever you got to do.
Alright.
Alright, so this is a nice ZvP. Do you get cannon rush this game?
I think so.
Okay. So, we'll go into it. We'll talk about what's going on. And like I'm expecting this from what you said, where you do BDGM build, I'll just we'll be referencing that a lot, I guess, with like the build order, basically. But
yeah.
First things first, I'm gonna ask you a question, okay? This is a quiz.
Yeah.
This is a quiz time.
Oh shoot.
Okay, so look at your Overlord really fast, and look at, like, if you click your Overlord, and then now while you're clicked on your Overlord, look at your opponent's natural. And from here we can see your Overlord is going to check the natural out and then go back over the cliff, and yeah, that's fine. Never mind, no quiz. I was like about to get really technical here, but I was like, wait, what did I do in silver? I forgot this is silver. No, that's fine. That's actually fine. You're good. I actually agree with what you're doing right now since it's silver.
I was just checking, and then I don't know, cause like I've watched ahead of silver.
Yeah,
when I'm supposed to go deeper and stuff.
Yeah,
but, like, I don't know. I was just trying to.
No, it's totally fine. I think you should. All you should look for is look to see if you expanded, because the game is very technical, and for now, the most, like, the thing is about scouting is you could be wrong about so many things, but as long as you're right about the fact that he did or he didn't expand, tells you that in itself is so much information. Because if he didn't expand, you should be expecting he's going to probably make units. He's going to prioritize that instead, so you're probably going to get attacked. And if he does expand, then that all attacks are delayed for longer. So that's definitely your scouting is totally fine so far. From there, I would say your biggest focus will then become just proper efficiency of your build. And I'll say this right now too. Your build's actually backwards. For
spawn pool then.
Yeah, yep. Your spawning pool is a little bit late, and your gas is way too early. So what's going to happen, right? And this is why this is kind of bad. If you're mineral line right now, if you optimally saturate this gas, your mineral line right now is going to be undersaturated, and you definitely don't want that right now. And if you look at it, if we back it up a little bit, when you took the gas, how many drones do you actually have on the mineral line when you take the gas? Okay, so you actually had 17, so it's not that bad. You didn't actually undersaturate under the optimal to take the gas initially, but yeah, the gas is still way too early. So if you do then saturate said gas, like now with new ones, okay, you're doing it as bad. Like, I think the gas is too early, but you're doing it about as well as you could though. Like, I'm just glad you're not ripping off the 16 on the mineral line. That's all I'm really trying to say, and you didn't.
All right.
So that's really good. You should definitely make sure that always stays like 16. But if the build should be 16 hatch, 18 pool, and 20 gas. And this game you took a gas at 17 and a pool at 18. So your pool is actually realistically being built at 19, even though you built it at 18, only because you also you have to also incorporate the fact that you're
the drone is
in the gas.
Guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then yeah, your gas is just so early. So your resources are going to look super, like, the way the build's supposed to line up is you're supposed to have about 100 gas in your bank right as the queen finishes. And if you do it the way that this is looking, you're going to have probably like 240 gas in your bank by the time the queen finishes. So it's really heavy on the gas. And if you take that second gas right now, it's way too early. But go ahead.
Also, I was just wondering, so like when you max out, you say like to have like the 80 drone range, like 80 to 85.
Yep.
I was just wondering how many bases should you have when you like are like
So what
should you have like
you should have 4 to 5, because if you do it really fast, you'll do it before mineral patches start mining out, and each base can have 22 drones at it. So you'll have you would have 88 like an 88 capacity for 4 bases. And if you're going to 85, you'll you know your 4th base will have just like 3 missing drones basically. But
all right, and
or go ahead.
And should I build more bases like ahead of time while
Yes.
I'm making drones?
Yep.
Okay.
So ideally what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, this is kind of the way it goes. When you're like your main and your first expansion is, you know, that's standards like 16, 18, 20. The idea is you want to take your natural by the time your main is fully saturated on minerals, which doesn't take very long because you start with 12. And then you want to take your 3rd right around the time when your natural is fully saturated, which is when you're going to start making roaches. And then you want to take your 4th base around the time when your 3rd base is becoming fully saturated. It doesn't have to be fully, like, it doesn't have to be entirely fully saturated. Like, for instance, like your main doesn't have double gases. Your natural doesn't need to have, you know, exactly every drone. You could take your next base, like, as you're just about to fully saturate, when you're maybe like 4 drones off or something. And you just keep doing this up until you're at 4 bases. Okay?
Oh yeah.
And then what happens then is when your bases start to mine out, you take another base. So as soon as you start mining patches out in your main, you take another base. As soon as patches start mining out your natural, you take another base. And so on and so on and so on. So you can keep rotating drones to new bases and not have inefficient mining.
Okay. That makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah. And then talking about your build, we'll just talk about it really fast. So your queens are super late, and your gases are all way too early. So this, if we're talking about, you know, random things that can happen to you, if your build is just a little bit more efficient, everything just falls into place. So like your first gas is too early. We already mentioned that though. But now watch your pool. It just finished at 214.
So I should be doing the queen.
You should definitely be making queens immediately. Like that should be the prompt. Like the second that pool's done, you make those queens right away, because those are, a queen is half of your larva. Because basically the way larva works is you generate 3 larvae basically at the same rate that an inject is cast on a hatchery. So it's actually 50% of your larva if you don't have a queen that's missing basically.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so your queens, we'll see when they start, but like they could be popping out right now because it's a 36-second build time, and your pool was done at 214. So it could be like finishing like now, like basically. So yeah, your queen started a full minute late. So you definitely want to keep that as a priority. Your priority should be this when you're through the game at this point in time. When the game starts, just hotkey your hatcheries to, you already hotkey them on 5, which is great. That's what I do too. But
I wonder why.
Yeah, right. Just look at your hatchery, the number above it, and just make sure it's 16 out of 16. Like get that shit up there, and then you're good to go. And then, you know, try to do the only thing you really need to know build order wise is your first 3 buildings, which is 16 hatchery, 18 spawning pool, 20 gas. And then everything else just comes as you can afford it, basically. And the way that you should play from that point on is your eyes should be doing like 3 movements, basically, okay, on the screen. You should look in the middle of the screen for just looking at your hatcheries to see the numbers, look at your gas to see the number. Exactly. And then take your eyes to top right and look at your supply. This that'll just constantly give you reminders to be like, okay, well, I need to make sure I don't supply block.
I'm really bad at supply block.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
Always.
It's a bitch. It happens to everybody. But just go ahead.
How many seconds, how many supply units should I be building my next Overlord, like to time it? If that makes sense.
With this build, up until you're saturated to 2 bases, you want to always try to maintain like 6 to 10 supply cushion. So if you fall below 6, make an Overlord. And then as soon as your layer is done, and as soon as you start making roaches, double that number. So then
Okay.
instead of having like a 6 to 10 supply cushion, try to have like a 12 to 20 supply cushion.
All right. And just another thing that like I would kind of want you to watch out for when I'm playing is that I'm really bad at like multitasking, I guess. Like if I get attacked, like I'm like I kind of like stop everything else and
Sure.
like it just like ruins everything.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
don't know how to like just like work around when I'm being attacked. If that
yeah,
makes sense.
we can definitely give you like a sequence to do, like when something happens, and like if I give you a sequence and you follow the sequence, it'll just make the game feel so much better for you. So like,
Okay.
cause I don't know what's going on for you and like the way you're thinking about it and all these things that are going on. Like for instance, like just something as simple as the spine color you built. I agree with that because you didn't see a natural. You don't know what the hell's going on, so that spine is a good choice. But you also didn't build queens for like a minute until like a minute later, which is definitely a massive mistake. And then
Yeah.
also you've started all 4 gases when your natural only has 6 drones on it, which is also a massive mistake. So if basically, if I just give you kind of like a generalized build, like the basically just recap the B to GM build, and then give you a sequence on how to just play it out with what you should do as a priority, I feel like that'd probably give you like the best, result here for like just improvement. Which is like the first one is the 3 spots on the screen you should look at. Like, and I already told you the first 2 was, one is the middle of the screen where the hatcheries are.
Oh, yeah.
Second one is top right with the Overlord supply. And you can also kind of keep tabs on your money up there too a little bit. You just glance at all those resources. And the third one should be your bottom middle subgroup. So really quickly, you can't hit 5 because you're watching a replay, but click your main hatchery and then hold shift and click your natural hatchery. And then you should see 2 hatcheries in the bottom middle of your screen in like a little subgroup.
Yeah.
So now, when you look at those hatcheries, do you see numbers on them? They say one says 1 and one says 2.
Yeah.
That represents the amount of larvae that they have. So if you look at those numbers, you can actually see, like, you can look there, and that's another reminder that you need to spend your larva. That should always say 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Yeah.
So you should look, like, those should be your 3 sequences of looking in the middle, looking in top right, looking in the bottom middle, and then just like I'm not saying you have to like make yourself dizzy by just going crazy on it, but maybe like every 3 seconds or every 5 seconds, like glance at the other one, glance at the other one, glance at another one. Like keep your eyes moving, but like just keep tabs on everything. And if you actually get in the habit of doing that, you'll always have constant reminders where it's like if you get distracted by something, but you go back into your sequence of checking on stuff, you're keeping tabs on it. You'll be, oh yeah, shit, I gotta do it. Meanwhile, when you're doing this, train your hand to always, again, I'm sure you've heard me say this in B2Jam a lot, but train your hand to be doing 5 SD, 5 SD, 5
Yeah.
SD. And as long as you do that, like, that is going to make a big difference for you. Another thing to look at, too, with these numbers, is if you don't realize your injects are done on the hatcheries, but you have your hatcheries selected like this, and you see, oh, shit, these hatcheries have 3, 3, 3. It means an inject just popped off, or they have like 4, 3, 4 or something because maybe an automated larva spawned and also the inject popped off. You can be like, that's a lot of larvae at once, so now it's a reminder to inject again. So stuff like that, as long as you just, literally, I'm not even kidding, as long as you just get your larva spent properly and generate it properly, your build is going to be like already like 5 times better than what it is right now. So that's definitely a priority. And then now we're talking about your gas. So your first gas, again, is supposed to go down around 20 supply, and then you never take drones off. You just leave them on the whole time. It's fine. And then you do not take gases 2 and 3 at the same time, and then you do not take any more gases until your third base is fully saturated, okay? So gases 2 and 3 are going to start after your first inject pops off your hatchery and you spend all of your larvae. And those next 2 gases are going to coincide with, they're going to pair with an Evo chamber and a Roach Warren.
Okay.
Because if you take your gases before the inject pops off, you'll never have enough money to spend your larva. Your larva will sit there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then always start I would say start a third queen as well. Like try to, you are doing it, but try to remember like
spread.
Yeah, exactly.
To the next one.
Yep,
Yeah.
and then you can just become an injector for it.
I'm pretty sure I like barely creep spread, but
No, it's totally fine. Like I'm not even kidding, dude. If all you do is put a creep tumor in your main to your natural, and then put a creep tumor in your natural to your third, and then eventually have creep to your third to your fourth. Just connect your bases. That's like the initial step of creep spread, and then you can work on it more from there. But your habits honestly should kind of become all you like once you have the fully saturated base. All you're doing is you're looking at top right for like supply, and then you're like doing 5SR at that point for like roaches, and you're just injecting your bases and spreading creep. That's all you're doing. And then when you attack your opponent, you don't even look at your attack. You just spread your creep and inject your bases, and then make sure your bases are like actually saturated properly. All right, and then so at this point your natural is now fully saturated, your main is fully saturated, and you're starting to saturate your third. I will say right now your build is definitely a bit behind for all the reasons we talked about already. But at this point too, as soon as you start making drones transfer to your third, once you have more drones being built and you have excess money, this is when you could. Or go ahead.
Wait, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say this is when you should be starting Hydroden, and
all right.
and then you could even start a fourth queen at this point if you want to try to do more creep spread. It's always a plus. I would say creep spread is definitely gonna give you, if you get in the habit of spreading creep now, it's gonna have such positive impacts on you later on, rather than just neglecting it. Like it's definitely something you're gonna need to get good at some point, and the sooner you do it, the better.
All right.
So I would say like now would be a great time once you're making these drones to take a fourth queen, and your current creep spreading queen could become another injector for a third base. And then yeah, it's just literally you make a little round of roaches. We're talking like maybe 8 roaches, 10 roaches, just for safety in case you get attacked. And then you just fully saturate your third, and then you can start your fourth base and get ready to saturate your fourth, and eventually go into this like maxed out army. So notice how your third base right now has 12 drones on it. This would be the perfect time to take your fourth base. And also you have a good amount of money too. So like it's when, because the thing is you're definitely gonna want to crank drones pretty crazy. I think what I was doing in Beta Jam was I was going like 10 roaches early off of 2 base, and then I saturated a third, and then I made roaches up to like 120 supply, and then I saturated a fourth, and then I maxed out. I think that's what I was doing, if I recall correctly. But like that's totally fine. That's efficient. It does, even if I'm wrong and it wasn't that, and you played it really greedy and you just off of 10 roaches you fully saturated 4 bases. That's a little risky, but even that would be fine in Silver League. You would, because like look what your opponent has right now. He's got 4 zealots and 2 stalkers. 10 roaches are not going to lose to that. It's because most people in Silver League play somewhat inefficient, and like this dude's natural was super late. Look at his natural saturation. He's got 3 perms in the middle line. Like this guy's economy is fucking abysmal. So yeah, it's usually what you're gonna play against. I feel like people just don't really prioritize minerals at these leagues. So excuse me. Well, go ahead.
Is it okay to have like extra money like in your bank? Because I have a friend who like plays Protoss, and he always says like you should just not have any like extra money. You should just spend it as you get it.
Ideally, yeah, that is ideally true. Like you do want to be spending your money as you get it, because if you don't spend your money, it means your production's lacking. And the reason why you have so much money right now is because you have not been making your injects very well, I would say. Like your queens were super late, and like you've already missed 2 injects in the main, and you've missed an inject in your natural too.
And that was larva, and then that could have been spent money.
Yep. And then if this is something that you constantly struggle with, which is fine, I would recommend when you start saturating your third base and you're getting ready to take a fourth base, just take a macro hatch as well.
Oh, right.
And then that macro hatch will definitely help you spend your money better. But yeah, and but for sure, like right about now, like we were talking about, when you had like 12 drones on this third base, this is definitely when you should be taking a fourth, because at this point, when you get close to 100 supply, I'll just say it like this: the time it takes you to go from 0 to 100 supply could take you 7 minutes, and the time it takes you to go from 100 supply to 200 supply could take you like 90 seconds, exactly, like 2 minutes instead of 7. So it's fucking quick at this point how fast you can max out. So now you're gonna definitely want to speed up the rate at when you expand. And also you can see another prompt would be, I told you to take your fourth base, but then remember the rule I just gave you earlier in this lesson where I said as soon as your patches start mining out, you take another hatchery. because your main is mining out right now, you should be taking a 5th base as well already.
Okay.
Because otherwise you'd have nowhere to send these drones to in your main. They would all be inefficiently mining.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you do saturate pretty quick to your 4th, which is fine. And now you have 82 drones. Your drone count's great. And if you ever run into a problem where you're like, dude, oh my god, I have like 3,000 minerals, feel free to take multiple macro hatches. The rule I gave to my in my videos was, which I think is a great rule, every 1,000 minerals you have when you're gonna, if you realize you're gonna make macro hatches, at some point in the game, for every 1,000 you have, that's how many hatcheries you should make. So if you're in the 3,000 range, just, I'm not even kidding, throw down 3 macro hatches, and you're gonna be able to recover your money a lot faster that way, to like actually spend it. And eventually you will get better at generating and spinning larvae, and this won't be as necessary in the future. But for now, getting that larva spent is definitely going to be a lot better than having a bank like this when you're only at 100 supply.
I'm pretty sure I'd go crazy this match and make like a ton of drones.
Like you keep going from here?
I think so.
You're like,
I really should.
You're like, I went to 150 drones. But yeah, like okay, you are taking a 5th base. Like I would say your expansions are, the level of your expanding and the level of your generation is definitely above silver. You are generating like crazy right now. You're comparing 80 fucking drones to 36 probes, and look at your bank. It's 10 times as big as his. It's insane. Like you have so much more money than this dude has. If you just had some macro hatches, and you are making a couple, which is really nice. I would say you could even make another. But I'm very glad you made some. That's actually really good. But yeah, just trying to get your larvae spent is definitely the goal here. At this point, this is what you should be doing. Okay, so you shouldn't really care too much about scouting anymore. There's only one form of scouting you should do, and I'll tell you what it is in just a sec. But what you should be doing right now is, again, you're doing the 3-eye movement thing where you're like middle of the screen, top right, bottom middle. But now your hatchery hotkey should be all your hatcheries, which is you have what is this, 5 bases and 2 macro hatches, so you should have 7 hatcheries in this, which I think you will. I just think you probably don't have the brand new one you just made. Anyways, all you should be doing now is you should be, again, looking at those numbers. That'll tell you if injects are popping off. And then another reminder is looking at the middle of the screen. That is another reminder that the inject is ready. And all you're doing is injecting, making units, injecting, making units. And then when you just made a round of units and an inject just happened, spread some creep. Like, and then you just take a round of creep really fast, like whatever creep timbers you have. And the easiest way to do creep is to choose one side and then go the other way. It's like reading a book. Do not start in the middle. If you start in the middle, it's going to get chaotic and messy. And then you're going to be like, where the fuck? Like, you're just scouring for creep timbers everywhere. But if you just do it like left to right, or if you're someone who likes to go right to left, that also works. Or top to bottom, or bottom to top. Any way works as long as you go from one side to the other. It makes creep spreads so easy.
Also, just like a general question, what rank do you think you should like memorize or like start to like use like the abilities for units, like the corrosive vials, for example, or like
diamond?
I don't really know any of
all that stuff is micro.
Just not one. All right.
Yeah, and it's I'm not even kidding. This is what you should do right now. You actually maxed at a relatively decent time. It's not that bad. I do think you can max faster. But all things considered, for silver, you're maxing at a acceptable... Like, this is not bad. So what you should do right now... what you should actually do when you're around, like, 170 or 180 supply... is you should just, like, go to your army and click one roach. And then tell it... Like, you could do this off the minimap. You just tell it to attack the left base and then go all the way down the side. Like, every base. Shift click, shift click, shift click. And then let that roach do its thing. And then click a second roach, and then do the same thing on the right side. Because all you want to do is see where his furthest most bases are. And the first base you see that's furthest away from his main base, that's the base you're going to go attack. And then while your roaches are going and scouting that, you just make more units, make more units, make more units, which is why you want to scout before you're maxed. You want to scout like at maybe 170 supply, like I was saying a second ago. That way, by the time you find his bases, you can be like, all right, now we're maxed and we're ready to go attack the base I found, or the newest base he has. And then if it just happens to be his natural, then so be it. You're gonna attack the natural then. And then all you do, the second you tell your army to attack, and do you know how I was doing those attacks? When I would be like, I would click the front, A move, and then I would hold shift and like click the front of the ramp, and then A move, and then click his main.
Yeah.
You would do that, literally, you would do that. And then you just go back to your base, and like you just literally just fucking forget about your army. I wasn't doing those, like A move, not look at the army type shit in Silver League and stuff, because I thought it was like, oh, look at this, guys. Look at how you don't need to micro it. It's because what you actually should do is at that point when your army's going to go do its own thing, you should look at your natural. Pull off 2 drones. You should look at your main and make sure it's all injected. Make sure your natural's injected. Make sure your third's injected. Make sure that gas in your third base is saturated properly. Make sure every drone is mining efficiently and it's not oversaturated. Every hatchery is being injected as much as possible. You're spreading your creep in the meantime. And you're always making sure you always have another base to send your drones to as soon as, again, they start mining out of other bases.
Okay. Also, what's the difference between like shift A moving through like different places and just like hitting A and then clicking like the back base like in the bottom? Like, won't they like kill the walls?
So the reason why shift is good is because it makes your units cover a bigger area. If you just A move the back of his base, your units could skip a lot of shit. Which is why, like, a lot of times, if you'll notice what I did, I would click the front of the base where I would attack. And then I would click, usually, like, in the mineral line. And then I would click the ramp. And then I would click the base above back to the mineral line. And so there's 2 reasons to it. One is you cover more surface area this way. And you make sure you fucking kill everything. Because you're not microing it. So you're making sure your units are actually, like, killing everything in the area. And the second reason why you do this, this is also one where I guarantee you'll run into this sometimes. You will always run into this against Terran, but you will run into this sometimes against other races because it's lower league, and this just happens more often in lower league. If somebody fully walls their ramp with something, Terrans do it a lot because they can raise and lower depots, but if they fully wall their ramp, and you click A move the back of their base, and that's it. You don't shift A move like up the ramp at the base of the ramp, and then you go in further. Your units will get stuck on this side of the cliff, like if you look below his third base right now, your units would probably pool up at the mineral field right there, because they would be walled out if he had a wall. Yeah. Because the AI would be like, how do we get there? It's walled. We don't know how to get there. But because they don't like if they don't get close enough to the wall to trigger to kill it, because it's in line of sight up a ramp or something, they'll just get stupid and they'll just stand there. So that is one of the biggest reasons why you do that. So like right now you're moving out, and I see you did a couple of shift A moves. You A moved the rocks, and then you shift A moved towards the front, and then you A moved into his mineral line. I'm gonna look at your camera really fast while this is happening, and I'm gonna see what you're doing. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. So far it's correct. Okay, so now it's incorrect. Like, there's nothing you're doing here. Staring at the fight, nothing is happening. I'll go back to right when you stared at it. Okay, right now. 11:14 is when you look at it. So you're not actually doing anything different here. The army is still on its shift A move command. And the only thing you're really doing is you're witnessing a battle. You're viewing it. You're being a spectator right now, essentially. But now let's look at how much time goes by from 11:14 to the next time you look at your base. Okay, you just looked at your base. So that took you 21 seconds to look at your base. And then, if we look at production, you did actually make Hydras as you started that fight. Because you have Hydras that are 18 seconds in production. So you did actually make Hydras during that. But now let's go look at your queens really, really fast. Your queen in your natural, which you're looking at right now, has 68 energy. Your queen in your main has 68 energy. Your queen in your third has 200. So that's... You're definitely missing the beat a little bit on... Like, it's... the beat is being missed a little bit on macro. Your expansion timings are the best thing you got going for you right now for everything, because you actually are taking another base again now, and you should be, because every one of your bases is like pretty much almost fully saturated except for the brand new one you made it in like the middle of the map with the rich gas. But then you look at like your main, and your main is going to mine out here pretty soon entirely. Your natural is mining out currently with like the excess patches, so you're going to have another excess of 6 drones here. So you're definitely, you know, I'm really glad you're building another base, because you know you're going to fix ideally want to fix the saturation. But like let's look at other things too. Like look at your upgrades, for instance. Like your hydras are upgraded, which I like, but your roach upgrade never was started. The roach speed. Your evo chamber has a melee upgrade actually, which you don't need right now. But you've only started level 1 weapons and level 1 carapace on evos, and you could start level 2 too of that. You know, like there's a few things in your build that you could definitely keep going and keep checking on and make sure they're all flowing well. And then the last thing is that again, this is something that I would say in Silver League specifically is not that big of a deal, but every league you go up is going to become a bigger and bigger deal. Your creep spread could definitely have been utilized during the like 20-second window as well, when you were doing nothing and other than staring at the fight. You could have actually done a full round of creep, and imagine if you actually had like 10 tumors or like 15 tumors. Spreading your creep could take you like 10 seconds possibly.
Yeah.
But you know, then that's just like, instead of having only like, let's say 14% of the map controlled by you with vision, now you have 17%. And then you do another creep round, and now instead of having 17%, you have 20%. And let's say now you have a queen that added in a few more tumors, and the next time you spread creep, instead of 20%, it goes up even bigger now. Now it goes to 24%, and then it goes to 28, and then you spread more tumors again, and now it goes to 33. It just keeps, like, the percentage gets bigger and bigger as tumors increase in number, and they spread further out because you can cover more of the map each time you spread around. So that, like, once you get to that point where you have like 50% of the map covered in creep, the level of control you have as Zerg there is insanely strong. It's so good. And that should definitely be one of your biggest focuses right now. Because this is why, okay? It's not about, like, I don't want you to just spread creep and inject your larva forever. What I want you to do is you're going to probably spend forever doing it now when you're not good at it yet, when you're kind of newer to it. And you're like, well, like, it takes me fucking like 30 seconds, bro. Like, it takes a while. By the time I'm done with my fucking creep and injects, I got to do it again. Which is okay. But the thing is the more you do it, the faster you'll get at it. And then suddenly you get so fucking fast at it that you can actually do other things in between creep spreading and injecting, because you're so efficient at it. It will eventually get faster and faster and faster. And just accepting that and working on that now is gonna, like I said before, it's gonna benefit you so much. So I mean, you killed his natural. Like, this is kind of expected, because again, you had like 82 drones to his 36 probes, and now your whole army's dying. And you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm looking at your hydras dying to DTs and your roaches, and I don't care one bit. This is not actually bad for you. Like, I think you could have shift A moved into his main, and they could have tried to go into the main, but even if you lose this whole army, you are still in such a commanding position to win this game because of macro. So it doesn't, like, this army movement doesn't matter. It doesn't matter one bit. What should be happening is you should be just constantly rebuilding and fixing your, your economy, injecting, again, all that stuff we just talked about. So I would love to see right now some injects going down on your queens. And you still actually have not injected since that fight started. Okay, your main just injected once. Okay, now it's injecting multiple times, so that's good.
Oh, I think I realized what's happening, so I made an overseer.
Okay. Yeah, because you had one before, and because you shift A moved, it flew into the cannon and died, which is fine. Like, again, that's something that you shouldn't worry too much about. I would just say, even if you didn't know what was going on and your whole army's dead, you're like, wait, what? What just happened? Just always send detection with your army every time. So never send a Roach Hydra army detection-less. Just always have at least one overseer, maybe more, like up to 3 or 4 with it, and then you'll be fine, usually.
Alright.
But like, for instance, okay, like, this is what you should be doing. If you go to your main base right now. Also, hold on, I want you to tell me something really fast, okay? I'm gonna actually see if you have settings on proper ways really quick before I tell you this. go to menu really fast, hit F10, and go to options.
All right.
And then go to gameplay.
Yes.
And then in top right, where it says show unit life bars, what does that say for you?
Always.
Okay, that's good. That's good shit so far. That's good. Now click mouse and keyboard. And then where it says mouse scroll speed, does it say 20% for you?
Yes.
Okay, so what I want you to try to do, because I'm assuming when you play the game, you drag the mouse around, right? When you're looking at bases and shit. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to speed that up a little bit. Maybe take it to like 35.
All right.
Because this is going to, what it's going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to get around your base faster. And if you want to experiment with it even more, you can increase it again. Just don't make it too fast all at once where it's going to be like, holy fuck, I just like flew off the screen. Because I play at 49 myself personally. And it goes pretty, like if you look at my stream, I don't know if you have my stream open.
Yeah.
This is what 49 looks like. So yeah, like if you take it between 20 and 49, so take to like 35 out, like I was saying, like that will probably look like this. Like it'll look something more like that. Like if you just did it, you can swirl your mouse around by yourself and you can see it. And that'll help you do things like, for instance, click your queen, hold shift, and then hit inject and click your hatchery a lot. Scroll down, click your queen, hold shift, hit inject, click your hatchery a lot. Like we're just talking the spam, click your hatchery, and then go to your third base, do it again. With a little bit faster scroll speed, like we just talked about, you could actually inject your bases probably twice as fast now.
All right.
And that should definitely be what's going on for you right now. Definitely injecting your hatcheries. And like queuing up the injects too, making sure you spend all your energy. Like if you ever have an excess, just spend it all. And then right now again, definitely you're maxed again, which is great. Just attacking him again. But you can definitely see the power of macro here. Like this dude has no chance.
Yeah.
Which is definitely looking good for you. And then your army. Okay, I'm gonna go back again. I'm gonna look at what you're doing one more time when this fight starts. Okay, so you're moving out. You're staring at the army, like the one Hydra on the front with the red health. Okay, you're looking at Overlord. You're moving it around. And then as well, the thing about creep too, I'm gonna pause again really fast. The thing about creep as well is the more you spread your creep, the less you have to repeatedly scout bases too, because you'll actually indirectly have them permanently scouted then because creep will be there. And then also he can't even take bases there anymore because creep is in the way. And if you ever get to a point where you actually have creep so far down the map to where like his 5th base or his 4th base is covered in creep, like that's basically a win condition in itself, because if you have control like you do, where you just keep attacking him like this, he has to spend so much time to be able to actually clear your creep out to then expand again, that you're always like it's another way to just constantly keep a supply advantage over your opponent. Like it's really hard for them to deal with if you do that. And then also it just makes every time you remax and you attack him again, your army just travels across the map faster, so you actually get to his base like 5 to 10 seconds faster than you would otherwise, which is, every second counts when you're just constantly like hammering your opponent over and over. And you are looking at the army again throughout the fight. And look at watch production, okay? Now I know you have all 3 upgrades started. You have melee, carapace, and range weapons started. And you can't actually make a unit right now, which is fine because you're maxed. But if your units start to die at any point in time, let's see how long it takes you to remake units. So you can see you're not macroing at all during the fight. Like you're gonna win this fight either way. But let's just say hypothetically, this guy somehow killed your overseers. Let's say he just had enough voids or some shit to kill your overseers, and then he warped in another like 8 DTs, and his DTs are sitting over here just swiping your hydras to death right now. If you were to stare at it until the army died, it would be less, like you would have less control of the game after that fight is over than if you would have just A-moved it, and then you would have done the same damage you were going to do anyway, like either way. But the difference would be, like, again, if we go back to your base really fast, your natural queen spends that 169 energy. Your main queen spends that 119 energy. Your third queen is still maxed and has not been touched in probably like 8 minutes. Or that's extreme. Probably like 6 minutes, honestly. Yeah, it's been sitting here like this for a while. And then your again, your creep hasn't moved once since since it's been here for a very long time. And then if we look at your economy, like your natural looks good, your main looks good, your third base looks good, your fourth base looks good, your fifth base looks fine, your next base looks fine. So your economy is looking fine. You're a couple drones under, which is not that bad. I would say if you made like 4 more drones or something, you'd be great. But that's so minor at this point. It's very minor. Like out of all your problems, that's the most minor one. Because 78 is still a solid number. But you're definitely not injecting and you're not creep spreading, which are the 2 main mechanics of Zerg that you need to do more often. And like I'm gonna show you something too, which is crazy. If you actually would not have microed your army, you would have done better here. Because watch what happens here in just a second. So he engages you right now, and you actually focus fire the Nexus right now, when if you just A-moved him, your Hydras would kill the cannon, they would kill the DTs, they would kill the Zealot, like basically everything hostile here would die first, and then you would have more Hydras left over, because you're going to win this fight, you're going to win this fight either way. You have way more than he does, but you would have more Hydras left over if you killed the hostile things first, and then killed the Nexus, but you actually focus fire the Nexus, and watch how many Hydras die when you do this. So you also focus fire a pylon right there. And now you focus fire the Nexus. And you lost. So now you're starting to shoot his units. You lost 18 supply of Hydras right there. Because you killed 2 buildings. And when you did that, look at the Hydras and we're not talking about the ones in the front, because the ones in the front are always shooting something. But you shot a couple buildings before you shot his units. But watch the Hydras in the back as well.
ViBE.
They're just like kind of bumping into each other, being like, we're trying to get to the building, but we can't because we're concaved out. And again, if you weren't microing this at all, it would be fine, because you're constantly remaxing. You're constantly making your injects, your creep, and all that stuff. Like right now, if you were just A-moving it, your Hydras would look the way they do right now. It would look like this. But if he engages you, all of your he's got melee units, so all of your Hydras would shoot at the melee units, because 6 range Hydra, even the ones in the back, will be able to shoot all the way to the front Hydra that has a melee unit on it. So all of your Hydras would effectively do damage if he attacks you. But when your Hydras are doing this and they're shooting buildings instead, look at the Hydras in the back now. They could shoot Zealots right now. All of them could shoot these Zealots. But watch the Hydras in the back. They don't do anything.
Yeah, they're just like running.
Yeah. They just kind of bump around and do fucking nothing until the building that you're focus firing is dead, and then they start shooting the Zealot. So this is like a very inefficient form of micro, because you're microing it. Like if you just A-moved it sounds fucking cruel and mean, but it's true. Like if you just don't focus fire the building right there, and you would have done better. If you just didn't micro, you would have done better. Just like tell them to A-move the area. Because again, it's like microing is something you will do at some. It's not like you'll never micro. You definitely will probably start doing a little bit of micro in Platinum, but you'll start actually incorporating a lot of micro into your play in Diamond League once you get there, because you can actually handle a big chunk of what macro means and what it is, because you'll be able to do things like, for instance, you'll be able to take this fight and micro once you're in Diamond League, and you won't have a 200 energy queen and 114 energy queen and also 164 energy queen and only 3 tumors actively on the map. Or sorry, you have 5 actually. You have 5. But yeah, like you'll actually have so much more going on macro wise.
All right.
If I had to grade you, okay, I would say your droning and your expansions. If we're gonna kind of just disregard the build order you did in the very beginning for 2 bases, that was really bad. I'll give you a better build to work with, and you know, I'll just give you an idea of a better build. I can make you like a replay really fast after this is over. But once you got to like that 3rd base, 4th base, and so on, your hatchery expanding, like if I were to grade you in a league, I would say you're already like platinum with that going on. Maybe even like high plat. Like you're definitely able to maintain your saturation pretty well for the most part, most of the time. Like you do keep doing that. I'm expecting to see like 16 drones in your main still and 16 in your natural, and you are actually transferring, so that is very good. If I were to grade you on your creep spread, I would say you are either probably bronze or silver. Like, there's definitely room for improvement, and if you're going to improve, you definitely have to start playing at a level above what you're currently at. That's, you know, obviously that's how you improve. So your creep spread is low, and it definitely is it's looking for improvement. Your injects, same thing. Probably, I would say injects are probably like more like silver. You do them a couple times here and there, but it's definitely neglected a lot. If you just fixed your creep, like mostly your injects and then your creep secondary to that, I would say there would be no reason why you wouldn't just crush your way all the way into Gold League, if not maybe even possibly crush your way through Gold League and get to Platinum. Because again, your expansions and your droning, once you're at the later stages of the game, is definitely above your level.
All right, and is 3 the like best number? Is that like the optimal number of queens like to have injecting, or like?
For now, I would say that's fine because you're doing a build. The reason why is you're doing a build that is very high supply compared to larva, because you're making nothing but roaches and hydras, and both of those are things that inflate your supply really easy, because they both cost 2 supply each, and they're also not so much roaches, but hydras are very expensive. When you compare just to like what if you make like zerglings or something. So hydras are definitely also going to be spending your money pretty fast too. But yeah, like you could easily max pretty fast on 3 queens. But if you compare the amount of money you can generate to the amount of larvae you can spend. Yeah, and then I would say like this Overlord scout in the bottom right. I mean, it makes sense logically, but I feel like it was irrelevant at the same time. For you to do it, because the only reason why you did it, in my opinion, is because you were looking at your army and you saw a probe transfer, and you then also took more time to then scout his corner base, because you were like, oh, probes transferring, let's go fucking figure out where they're going. But in reality, if all you did was you just maximized your max out attack, max out attack, max out attack, even if he does hide bases, he has 0 chance to win. Because you're like death, just consuming the map, and you eventually will get there.
All right.
Nice replay timer, by the way. That we're currently at. Leet, I didn't realize until just now. Fuck yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, so like now the game is pretty over.
Yeah.
Then we'll speed it up a little bit. And then you go kill his next base. Yeah, and now he leaves. So yeah, I mean, cleaning up your build and then cleaning up your mechanics are your 2 biggest things you should be working on right now. And then later on, you're going to start having problems with scouting, guaranteed. Everybody starts having problems with that. But I would say don't worry too much about it until you get to Platinum. Scouting is very minor until you get to Plat, and then once you're in Plat, start actually trying to figure out more about what's going on then. But for now, and even in like Silver and Gold, just look at like, did he expand to a natural? And let's figure that out, and and keep it basic. That way you don't confuse yourself too hard about, like, you're not sitting there thinking about what's going on, what could be going on, rather than not macroing, because I feel like the tendencies of lower level players when they think about scouting way too hard at low levels is they just distract themselves and they stop doing what they're supposed to do. All right, I'm gonna make you a referee, and I'm going to give you a quick example. So this one is basically, we're gonna go to 100 supply here, or yeah, we'll go to 100 supply, and the reason why is because once you get to this stage, or fuck it, we'll just go to 200 supply. I'll just go to 200. I won't cut you off halfway, because I don't want it to get confusing. Because okay. all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you the first 2 bases mainly, because everything after that was not that bad. I think it was fine. It's just your first 2 bases was really bad. But anyways, if you have any questions about anything not making sense or you're curious about, again, feel free to ask.
If I have random questions, can I just ask?
Yeah, go for it, dude. It's so fun.
All right. So is like the main like splash damage troop for Zerg, is that like just lurkers?
So you have for that style, it would be lurker, yeah, and then you have banelings as well if you do a ling style, and then you also, if you get really late game, you have spellcasters and ultralisk.
Alright. Are banelings like efficient?
Yeah.
Like, do they like know not to blow up if like will 3 banelings like blow up on one thing that's basically already dead?
No, they're smart. Yeah, they don't all blow up at the same time. Like if you have like 3 banelings surrounding a zergling, only one will explode and kill the Zergling.
All right.
All right, so we're going 16, 18, 20. And then we're not going to take gases 2 and 3 until our first inject is spent. And now we just go back to making drones and queens and overlords. Or the queens not yet, but overlords and, you know, all that stuff.
Also, are there any like important hotkeys that I should like memorize? Is it just like the ones around my build? Obviously, like I know those ones, but are there any other ones that are like important?
I feel like it just comes in time. The thing you should be doing a lot is you should be doing 5SD, 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 5SD,
Yeah.
and then when you're done with that, 5SR, 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 and when you're done with that, 5SH, 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 because you're gonna make drones and roaches and hydras. But other than doing that, I feel like all the other hotkeys will just come in time when you get comfortable with everything, because you'll experiment more as you get better with other compositions and stuff. And that'll just come from experience. It's nothing you should actively practice, like until you get there.
Alright. And what's the best way to like let's say I like did the bronze to GM kind of, like I'm making a ton of hydras. What's the best way to learn like how to start countering what other people are doing? Like if someone like sends like, I'm trying to think of a unit that just kills hydras like crazy.
So that's something I feel like that's something you're gonna encounter when you get to plat at the very least. You'll never. I don't think you'll ever encounter that in gold or in silver. And the reason why I say that is because if you just do an efficient build, you were at 200 supply, or sorry, you were at 80 drones and your opponent was at like 34, and you'll have even bigger discrepancies if you do an efficient build yourself as well. Like if you do what I'm doing right now, you'd have an even faster supply and you would crush your opponent even harder. Like no matter. Yeah, like even if they have anything that counters hydras, you're just gonna have so fucking many of them that it doesn't matter. And then once you get to plat, that's when it'll start making a difference. I would say a little bit. And in platinum, that's when you should start paying attention to composition a little bit more, and that's when you can start changing yours a little bit. Like maybe add in more roaches if he's got something that can chew through it really fast. There's things like that.
All right. And like I noticed that you're adding like overlords and spawn pools into hotkeys. Like, should I be?
You don't have to do that. That's just me. You don't have to do that. That's just that's tendencies that I do.
All right.
So we're making safety roaches right now, and we're still making creep tumors. Just while the queen's just kind of chilling here doing nothing. And now we have a decent amount of roaches. Then production, we're going back into drones, and all my hatcheries are rallied to my third. But just save this when this is over. Save this replay and compare the amount of stuff I have to your own games, and see if you are keeping the pace close to what we're doing here. And now I have another queen. So I actually, what you can do too is you can hotkey your queen by itself too. So you can just double tap. Like mine's on 2. I can be like 2/2. It goes to queen. I make a tumor. And then it'll make it easy to like always have creep being spread all the time.
Alright.
And then now I can make a hydroden. And I can take all my gases because my third base is fully saturated now with all the drones that are coming out. And I keep making drones just to make sure I finish it all off. And then we'll keep it in unison. We'll do exactly what you did last game with the drone number. We're literally off of the safety roaches we have right now. We'll go to 80.
Okay.
The 80 range.
Sequences spawn, swarm mutated.
Also, how are you like going between your bases without like using the
It's
minimap?
it's
Wait, are
can
you using it?
here I can do this too. I can just scroll around. It's I was doing that in BetaGM. It's camera hotkeys. And
Okay, okay.
you don't. I would say you don't need camera hotkeys right now, but you know, eventually, if you want to use them, you can. It's gonna kind of change up the way you play a little bit. It feels awkward at first, 100%, but if you get used to it, it is pretty nice.
Or
But it's not required. And then now we're fully saturated on my next base. We have like 84, 85 drones, and now all we're gonna do here. Or I just did camera hotkeys again. It's such a habit. Now all we're gonna do is we're gonna make hydras. Just gonna make hydras. And we can just pay attention to how fast we max here. And we can also start a second Evo at this point too. We could have started one a little bit earlier, but whatever. And don't be afraid too, once you get to a point, if you have like 80 drones, if you decide, you know what, I'm gonna make a round of like 8 overlords, that's actually fine. As long as you're not gonna like oversupply really crazy, like where you only needed 2 but you made 8. Because getting to 200 supply is gonna happen really fast now. Okay, so we're getting attacked here, so let's go ahead and... Like, I'm not even gonna micro this, I'm just gonna literally A-move everything that direction. And we're gonna go ahead and inject my bases, Drone count is still not bad. And last game, if I recall correctly, I think you maxed out at like 1040 or something. Like it's something, yeah, it was like 10 something. Yeah. And right now the game timer is 750 and we're almost maxed. Just making drones and hydras and roaches.
So was it mainly like the gases at
yes.
the start that
Yep.
injects?
Yeah. Your queens were a minute late, and then you took all 4 gases when you naturally had 6 drones on it. That's way too early. Like that just fucks your economy so bad. And you can see, like, look at the timer compared to how fast you can max. That's how hard it fucks you over. Yeah. Like it's pretty massive. And now we have another base started, and our main is mining out, so we're sending drones to that base, and we're maxing out at 829. And oh, we didn't do this too. I should have actually sent a roach on each side. But yeah, we'll just let it happen for now. Just whatever. And then now I should actually start another base again, because my natural, if my main just mined out, my natural is gonna be following suit pretty fast after. So then again, now I'm waiting. I just made a bunch of units. We can do another round of creep while I'm just chilling. And then I can even make, or I can make another drone, because that drone just made a hatchery. And we can start a hive. And now we'd be like, okay, he doesn't have any bases on the right side at all. He doesn't have bases on the top left. You know, it looks like this Protoss is 3-basing it, basically. Or he's 2-basing it, because he doesn't have a natural. So we just A-move into his fucking, the front of his natural, go into the middle line, go to the base of the top of the ramp, so in case there's a wall there, and then go further into the middle line, and then leave it, and then go back to your base. Alright, these guys aren't there. Just fuck it, let's go there. And then go back to the base and go inject, 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 inject. So we don't have any missing larvae, and now as soon as I'm losing supply, hold it down. So every single time a supply dies, I make a new one, and then keep going through your base and be like, oh, I can start level 2 carapace. Hive is on the way. I could do another round of creep. I can make a couple hydras again because my eyes are looking in top right. I can still do creep. I can still do creep. I can still do creep. I can make hydras again in top right. I even lost my overlord, so I'm actually down in 200 supply. Make a couple more overlords. Do some creep. And then now after doing that, I could go back to my base and be like, oh, let's do another inject. Another inject. Another inject. How's my hive looking? It just finished, so now I can start level 3 weapons. How's my natural looking? It's about to start popping patches out. Like, they're getting very low. And then, you know, now I'm waiting. Let's make some hydras. Do another round of creep. Like, this is all you should be doing. Just maintenance. Just doing maintenance. Round of creep. Round of creep. Inject, inject. Make a couple hydras because we just lost a few more. And then if you see on the minimap that you're just fucking crushing, and you're like, yeah, my army's going to own, you can select the army and just A-move it again. And just send your new reinforcements over there. I wouldn't mind that. If it looks like you're just crushing.
Do you always recommend like heading out when you have like maxed army?
Yeah, because it's the if you're gonna go crazy drones and then max out really fast, it's the highest power spike that you have.
All right.
Because also,
Like sometimes I see like they're trying to take like an early base, but they don't really have that much like
sure,
that many units around it. So like I could just send like 10 like roaches or something and just take it out.
that is something that I would say is definitely going to become more of an apparent thing you should do once you get higher in league. But for now, in silver and gold, you shouldn't even give a shit if they're going to take a base or something, because if you just play efficient, what's going to happen is you're hitting upgrade timing windows as well, where you, like when you max out is roughly also around the time when your hydras are going to have range and speed. So your hydras are not going to be kind of garbage. And then if you send out roaches and you don't micro roaches, like basically you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're like, oh, look at this guy, he's being fucking greedy. I'm going to actually stop making drones. I'm only at 62 and I'm going to start making roaches. And then let's say your attack fails. Let's say he has like 3 tanks on a hill or something and you didn't know that was there. And you're like, oh shit, okay, well, do I need to make roaches again? Like, it puts you into these weird spots where it's going to start making your game fall apart sometimes. And if you just play efficient with what we're doing, this is the hardest thing that I've always had to convince people of. Just this concept, and it's so true. If you just play efficient, and like an actual efficient build that we just did right there will beat anybody who is in bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, no matter how greedy they are. Because if their build is legit from bronze, because you're not using a build from fucking bronze, you're using a build from a pro gamer. But you're doing it. It's so easy to do, though, that you could do it while you're in bronze. If you play against someone else who's using a build from the league that they're in, or around that area, your build is gonna just have such a higher peak than theirs will. So even if they're being greedy, your build is also greedy. The build that we're doing here is also greedy. It will just fucking crush everything. And focusing all of your multitasking is just dumped into being able to maintain, like, molding the build in a close to what it should be. Each time you add in another task where it's like, I gotta attack that, I gotta go scout this, I gotta go check on that. Each time you do that, it's gonna make the build kind of like fucking mutate into something else a little bit that's just not as efficient as what it should be. So just focusing on the build is definitely the best thing you could do, I would say.
Could I ask just one more question before? Or is it like, I think it's time.
Go for it. It's all good.
So I like play against my friend a lot, and he plays Protoss, and he does like a gateway, like just warp in like timing thing with stalkers.
Yeah.
And it just like messes me up really bad. Like when I'm trying to follow this build, like what would you recommend doing against that so I can beat him next time I play?
What league is your friend?
Well, he plays plat, but like, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, if you just make roaches, do it like this. If your friend is very aggressive and he does not take a natural, when you start making safety roaches, just keep making roaches. Okay? So you stay one base above him. If he does take a natural, and do you see that? Saturate 3 bases, and then before you saturate a 4th base, just make roaches. Just literally max on roaches. Try that the next time you play him. But I guarantee one of the reasons why you struggle against your buddy is because if your build looked at all what it looked like a minute ago when we looked at it, your build is super far behind because of everything is super inefficient. Just really, 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 really prioritize the tech path of 18 spawning pool, and the second that pool's done, queens right away. You don't miss queens at all. Like you start them within a second after the pool's done, so you're paying attention to that. Like that's your goal. And then the second the queens are out, inject and you spend your larva like constantly. And if you just do that, if you just respect that and you don't let things idle out for a long time, you'll have so much supply. And when your buddy does, like, he warps in 8 stalkers or 12 stalkers at your base with blink, and he's like, holy fuck, you have like 30 roaches. Okay, like it's just gonna feel like that. And yeah, just if you're really trying to maximize it against him, go 1 base above him in economy and then just make roaches until you max. And I'm not even kidding, dude, you can fucking max on roaches at or before 8 minutes, like between 750 and 8 minutes. And if your friend is doing a 2 base stalker all in with blink at 750 to 8 minutes, he's probably gonna have like 76 supply. And imagine if you had 200 versus 76. It's gonna be like you're cheating. All right, dude. Well, thank you for doing a lesson. Much love, dude. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks so much.
All right. Good luck, man.
Thank you. See you.
Later. Yo, and shout out to Wally. I believe Wally was the one who set this one up again. I'm 90% sure. It was purchased a while ago. But if I'm wrong, yo, thank you, Boogie Boon. Yeah, Wally. Okay, yeah, Wally did. Okay, so yeah, Wally, much love, man. Shout out to Wally for the purchase of another coaching lesson. And if you guys liked it, check out my YouTube channel. I have many more just like this. I have more coaching lessons, more replay analysis. Bronze to GM. It's a series that's like a guide on how to get better at StarCraft. And also, if you guys want to see live action, I basically stream like every day. Go check out the Twitch, twitch.tv/ViBE, LOL. And yeah, until next time, everybody, I'll see you then. Take it easy. Good luck in your own games. And thanks for watching.